Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, airplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. Cosmere Chronicles! Woo! The podcast where we follow two first-time readers, Justin and Sheta, and we chronicle their journey through Brand Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling the Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings, chapters 57 and 58. So now, let's throw it back over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe. Why, thank you, Joe. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Cosmere Chronicles. As you heard, my name is Joe, and I am joined this week by Justin and Sheta. Hello there.
Yo.
Hello, Joe. How are you today?
I'm doing quite well. Well, maybe. I don't know. I did stub my toe the other day.
How unfortunate for you. Hope it wasn't too serious.
Yo, you guys being
Well-
too formal. I can't roll with that.
Well, I've got the Elantrian disease, the Sheod, before it got fixed, so I can still feel the stub toe.
Bro, that sucks.
All right. Yep, so we're here, everyone, and yep, we're here. We're hopefully going to have a good time. Hopefully everyone listening will have a good time. If not, then yeah, it kind of sucks to be you.
Yeah, good time not guaranteed.
No refunds.
No refunds.
Yep, and I'll just say it up front for everyone. You know, there'll be no episode next week. We'll have a week off because next week we're going to be going to an anime convention, so we'll be a little too busy to then get back together and record.
Joe, don't
Lazy
put me on
bums.
blast like that.
Yeah, don't make people
What?
think I'm a nerd.
We're going to think I'm a loser for liking going to an anime convention.
Yeah, like we haven't talked about all the anime stuff before. I mean, Sheta, you already told everyone that solo leveling is overrated.
Don't bring it up again.
So
I have now watched Solo Leveling too, or at least some of it, and I can agree it is overrated. I did not enjoy it. I loved the first episode so much. I thought it was so cool, and then it turned into a totally different show, and I was not into it.
well, according to in the Crunchyroll Award Anime Awards last year, it won Anime of the Year in a very flawed voting system.
I will not
Because
say my input on why I believe that is, because I don't want to insult any fans like an asshole.
All I remember is like the voting system. It's like, all right, technically people are supposed to be voting for season 1, but this voting is taking place in like March and April while season 2 is currently airing. So that is clearly going to skew people's opinions because it's fresh in their mind while watching season 2. It was a dumb way to put voting system. But also I never watched it, so I don't really have a say in it. I'm just saying that I thought how the voting was set up was bad. But anyways, enough about that. Let's go to some other stupid anime stuff for a random question of the week.
God run theme.
Yep. Because we're going to a convention next week. So I just want to ask you are there any cosplays that you kind of would want to see going there? Don't worry on the likelihood. Don't worry if it's too obscure of a character that people won't do it. Just are there any that you would like to see, whether they will show up or not?
I kind of want to see like a full group play like Himmel's group in Frieren, like her original group. That would be fun to see. Like it's always nice to see a nice big group cosplay. So, and I think it'd be likely to see that. If I had friends, I would do that.
I don't know. I was surprised when we went last year because Freerun came out the year before and was popular, and I saw very little Freerun cosplay.
Yeah, but it went from like niche popular to like popular. It seems like in the last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, it takes a little bit for animes to get that like to that level. I think there's a lot of cosplays.
I don't know. There were a lot of cosplays like immediately for Chainsaw Man and Solo Leveling. Granted, those are also pretty simple cosplays to do.
Yeah, you have to take in that too. The time.
Like how many people would do Makima? Because all you have to do is buy a suit and a wig and you're set.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some contacts. Justin, do you have any cosplays you want to see?
Give me 1 second to think about it.
Well, I'll throw out some. Like one that chances of seeing it are next to 0%, but I would like to see Medaka Kurokami from Medaka Box. It's a manga, but the thing is that it ended in about 2012. It was popular enough to be able to get 200 chapters, but not like super popular. You know, in Medaka, she was in one of the Shonen Jump video games, but it's been a while since that came out. The anime only had 2 seasons, so chances of seeing that costume would be very low, but that is a pretty cool looking like outfit that she has. And another one would be just pretty much any Black Clover characters. I think out of all the years I've gone to anime conventions, I've only seen one Asta. Like nobody else in Black Clover cosplay.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen one. Yeah.
I saw one Asta. He did not have his grimoire on him. He said because that is heavy just to carry around on his side, so he doesn't have it all the time.
I can't think of that many I'd want to see. I will never see this, but I always want to see a Gantz cosplayer in the wild. I've seen them online and they look badass, but I will never see one at a con like this. So there's my white whale. Otherwise, an incredibly accurate Yoko Littner. That's my other one. No further comment.
What was that? Let me look it up.
Yoko from Gurren Lagann. Would it be early series Yoko or like space Yoko?
You know which one.
They both show a lot of skin.
I do see a lot of her online too, but never in real life. That's a tough one to pull off.
I do like to see in it when people try to do ones that are just kind of hard to pull off, like seeing whenever people try to do Frankie from One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
Or last year I saw Jimbei from One Piece.
That's a hard one. That sounds good.
All right. Yep, so there we go. There's our anime corner for the week. So now we'll come back, go over to Brandon Sanderson and The Way of Kings, by first having Justin go over the chapters from last week.
Oh my goodness. I plead the fifth. Can I do that here?
You're not on trial.
No.
I don't think.
What, so I don't have rights? Is that what you're saying?
You're not in a situation where you could say something that would accuse yourself of a crime.
I don't know. I think I just did with that cosplay question. Somebody give me a jumping off point. I got nothing. I have completely forgot what happened.
You had Dalinar went to King's Feast and talked with Wit.
Yes, Wit revealed he was Hoid. I do remember that. You know what? Just fail me. Just fail me. I failed this. I cannot separate what I just read with what happened last time. But I know a lot of important stuff happened.
All right. So, fine. Well, it's not fair to do to Sheta, so I'll just say. So, yep, Dalinar talked with Hoid. Hoid revealed some stuff, talking about Ada Nauseam and stuff, and then he said that he's leaving because Cosmere needs him. Sadeas revealed his investigation that Dalinar did not try to kill the king. Then Dalinar and Sadeas decide to work together on plateau assaults. With Kaladin, we see him witness Dalinar's joining the plateau assault. And then later, the bridge crew has to go back in the chasms, and they figure out a way to try to sneak some spheres out of the chasm by shooting arrows up. And then the last Dalinar chapter, it's another plateau assault, but then a second army comes behind Sadeas, and Dalinar has to kill a shit ton of Parshendi in order to get to Sadeas and save him.
You see, I thought all that was the time before. I feel like the plot is moving so much and so little at the same time. It really disorients me.
All right. Well, this week we read 2 chapters only. Chapters 57 and 58. So, typical question I ask every week. How did you feel about these chapters this week?
Pretty surreal, but I think things are I think we're getting to that part in the book where a lot of stuff's gonna get flipped and stuff, or crazy. It's gonna go crazy after this.
Like a Sanderlanche? Is that what you're saying, Sheta?
Yeah.
A term I've heard used and seen across multiple books, but do not currently use myself.
Yeah, I think that's accurate, though. And I think there's a reason we only read 2 chapters this week, even though they were really long. I feel like it's gonna happen next chapter.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we're set up for a big trigger pull on the third act of the book, or the end of the book. I think things are going to go in a direction that we are not going to see coming.
All right. Well, let's get into the recap then. Here we go. So our first chapter of the week. Well, first I'll just say we start off with a little bit of artwork. The artwork is pretty much just some plant life on Roshar, so you can kind of see what more plants look like there. And then the chapter 57, which is called Wander Sail. Epigraph. I hold the suckling child in my hands, a knife at his throat. I know that all who live wish me to let the blade slip, spill its blood upon the ground over my hands, and with it gain us further breath to draw. Subject was a dark-eyed youth of 16 years. Sample is of particular note.
What the fuck? That was quite a sentence to open up the chapter with.
Some of the Epstein emails. Just kidding.
Oh God, yeah, I get that vibe for sure.
So the chapter begins, and we immediately have Maps talking, and he says, "And all the world was shattered. The rocks trembled with their steps, and the stones reached towards the heaven. We die, we die." And then Maps dies.
Following that sentence up with that was crazy. I was already really pretty shocked from what I just read. Following that up with that death, I was like, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I think the funniest thing is last week when we were doing the will they die or won't they die thing, when I asked about other bridgemen, Sheta specifically asked about Maps and said she did not want. And then, like,
Yeah.
one sentence into the chapter, he's already dead.
I know. I was like,
That's
oh,
why they were
man.
giving him more screen time, though, you know?
Huh?
That's why they were giving him some more time, you know?
Yeah,
Like making sure you knew the guy.
I never catch it. They always get me. They always make me like exactly. They play me like they want. Because I'm like, I like him. I hope he does more stuff. That's very cruel.
Maps, he had taken an arrow in the chest during a bridge one, and Kaladin was attempting to save him when he died. And Kaladin again thinks about how they are all going to die and just leave him alone. And Scar asks, what was that Maps was just saying? And Yakes responds that it's just a delirium that some people say right before they die. And Tef
Finally.
notes that seems to be happening more often lately.
This is what I've wanted to know the whole book, is if this was something people notice. So I was so happy to actually have this part. Something I've been waiting for so long. Like, I'm sad that I've been rooting for somebody to die just so I could see if they'd talk about it.
Yeah. It's an in-world, everyone knows it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. God, just death delirium. Though Tefta saying it seems to happen a lot more now with how he seems to know of it, makes me wonder if there's something that he's aware of.
Yeah, like maybe someone close to someone like Kaladin would have that happen more often.
That's interesting.
And Kaladin thinks about how after Maps' death, they are now down to only 26 bridgemen on Bridge 4. And it's noticeably now getting much harder to carry the bridge. And a few more deaths will just make it impossible for them to carry that bridge. And Kaladin wonders if his father could have saved Maps, or if Kaladin himself could have saved Maps if he had gone to Kharbranth and studied. And he again starts thinking about all the people he has failed to save. And Syl tells Kaladin he needs to be strong. And Kaladin just responds that, if he was strong, then he could save the others. And she tells him that the other bridgemen need him. He gave an oath. And Kaladin thinks that his father was wrong. He has not been able to learn how to deal with all the deaths. And Lopin comes over and he hands Kaladin the pouch of spheres that he had grabbed from underneath the bridge. It is the 4th time that they've done this. And Lopin also tells him that he had taken a coil of rope and dropped it down the chasm. He didn't tie it over the side and lean it down because, if his shawl or Gaz had noticed rope just dangling down, then that probably would have been bad. But Kaladin also notices that Gaz was not on this bridge run today and wonders why.
Oh yeah, they never got around to saying that. I was wondering.
What do you mean? Did something happen to Gaz?
We don't know. He said that, and I was just expecting to learn where he was.
Oh, okay.
As they are heading back after the battle, Moash notes how the soldiers are glaring and scowling at them, and wonders why they do that. Kaladin says that when he was in Amaram's army, they had always wished they could come to the Shattered Plains, because here the soldiers would be fighting for something, and they would have discipline. And he says the soldiers are glaring at the bridgemen because, the way that Kaladin and Bridge 4 are acting, they are better than the soldiers. The soldiers see discipline and it embarrasses them. But Scar says that Dalinar Kholein's men don't do that. He says that they have order, and they're not like, when they're off duty, they don't leave their coats unbuttoned or stuff like that. And Kaladin just thinks, will I never stop hearing about Dalinar storming Kholin? And men had spoken about Amaram the same way they have spoken about Dalinar. When they arrive back at camp, Kaladin dismisses the men for the evening. And then the men, they raise their arms and cross them at their wrists in front of their chests before leaving. Kaladin asks, what was that? And Teft explains that the men wanted a salute, so he taught them one of his old squad salute. And Kaladin, he looks around at all the other bridges and the bridgemen, and how beat down all those other bridgemen are. And he wonders if Bridge 4 really used to look like that. And the other bridgemen, they have also stopped treating Bridge 4 with contempt like they used to. And Teft asks Kaladin why he always has to try to help everyone. Kaladin and Teft, they go over to the rain barrel, and Teft, he's once again asking Kaladin, have you had any odd experiences recently? And Kaladin gets annoyed with him because it's the 5th time in 2 days that Teft has asked him something like that.
The part where, or just Teft be the, are you feeling anything? Sounds like it would be so goddamn annoying. I thought that was such a funny thing to point out, because I've been annoyed with Teft for not outright just talking to Kaladin. So it's very funny to me that Kaladin is annoyed in the same exact way as I am.
Had any weird dreams lately?
Yeah.
Like,
you're like, dude, if you're trying to say something, just say it. What are you talking about?
uh-huh. Also, you're not making it so that I feel like I can confide in you these weird things, Like,
Kaladin, he asks what Teft is digging for, and he knows there's like a cut on Teft's arm, so he has Lopin come over and bring his medical pack. As Kaladin takes the pack from Lopin, Teft suddenly throws a punch at him, and something blossoms inside Kaladin, and he catches Teft's fist. He demands why Teft just did that, and Teft just says that he wanted to see something. And then Lopin tells Kaladin, Gancho, you're glowing. And Kaladin, he looks at his skin, and it is faintly glowing, with a wisp of luminescent smoke coming off of it. Kaladin, he puts the medical pack on the rim on the water barrel, and he asks what Teft did to him. But Teft says he didn't do anything, and that Kaladin has been doing this for a while. And Kaladin, he looks at his spear pouch, and they have all been drained of Stormlight. And Lopin points out that the medical pack that Kaladin had just taken, he didn't set it on top of the water barrel. He had just wound up pressing it to the side of the water barrel, and it's sticking to the side of the barrel with a faint streaming light coming off of it.
It's funny that they introduced the powers to us just a little bit ago, through the assassin, and now they're just going to put them into the story like this. Like, to time that out that way, I think is really fun and interesting. Like, just when they get you interested in them. Just when you're like, man, why aren't there any powers in this book? They give you some powers immediately. Or in our main plot, they give you some immediately.
And Kaladin, he sees Syl above him and thinks that she did this. And he walks away from Teft and Lopin and he calls for Syl. And when she comes down, she notes, hey, you're glowing. And he asks what she did to him. She says that she doesn't know. She can only faintly remember things that she used to know so well. And she says that they did something. It wasn't just her or Kaladin, but together. He asks how to get rid of it, and she asks, why would you want to get rid of it? At this point, Kaladin thinks, and then he asks her, you're not a windsprint, are you? And Syl says no. She doesn't know what she is, but that she binds things.
So to me, by her description here, it sounds like she's a gravity spren, or you think she's something more magical sounding, Sheta?
I guess glue spren isn't one, but like, or what is it when the science term for it when there's tension between things, or kinetic energy? I don't know.
Oh, kinetics movement.
Yeah, but the opposite of that, like, I don't remember.
Oh, you think it's like a static energy, like an Inui kind of thing? Like just the lack of movement? No, because we know that they
No,
can
I don't.
change what ways up and down from the powers in the other chapters,
You think it's the same?
I think it's the same, yeah.
Okay. You know what? There
You
might
don't
be.
think so?
No, I think that's true. I have a theory about it, so we'll talk about it later.
And Justin, I will, one thing, you said gravity spren. I will point out that if you look at that image from last week, one of those gems that with like the spren with it was a gravity spren.
Oh, well, there you go. Easy as.
Because it had pain spren, gravity, cold, heat, wind, and like a flame spren. Oh yeah, and with that image, I realized, like, I was looking up to see when exactly did someone translate this. Way of Kings was published August 31st, 2010. By September 2010, somebody had managed to figure out how to translate the women's
Oh,
script.
a fan did that? That's
Yes.
funny.
Before any sort of official translation thing then came out, which some fan was able to look at that script and just break it and be able to figure
Yeah,
out
that's really
what it all
funny.
said within a month.
Yeah.
All right. And then Kaladin, he picks up a stone and he presses it against the wall of the barracks, willing his light into it. And it sticks to the wall, and when Kaladin looks at it, he can faintly see tiny spren around the place where the rock and barracks meet. And Syl calls them bind spren. Kaladin says that those spren are holding it place, but Syl says that, maybe those spren are just attracted to what Kaladin did. And she asks him, do rot spren cause sickness, or are they attracted to it? He says, everyone knows that they cause sickness. Syl once again asks, are you sure about that? Do wind spren cause the wind, or do rain spren cause the rain? Do flame spren cause flames, or do they just come when those things are there? And Kaladin says he needs to get rid of this light, not study it. Syl asks him why. She talks about the stories of men who walked on walls and who bound the storms to them. Wind runners. Kaladin says that what he is doing is what the Radiants did. And he says that explains it. The Almighty cursed the Lost Radiants for betraying mankind, and now Kaladin is cursed because he's doing the same things. Syl tells him that he is not cursed, but Kaladin says that this isn't natural. The Radiants betrayed mankind, their powers left them, they were cursed. And that's why everyone dies when he tries to save them. Syl asks if this means that she is part of the curse, and Kaladin says, well, you said that you're part of it. She asks if he thinks that she caused all of his failures and the deaths around him. Kaladin doesn't respond, and Syl gets a wounded look and flies away. And so then Kaladin, he goes out and he just starts walking alone and thinking. And as it reaches night, he walks out onto like the plains, going across some of the permanent bridges and stuff, just walking out there. And he thinks about how it is so odd to be alone, because he's always been around people for so long now. And the last time he was alone was the night that he was left out in the high storm. But then he remembers, no, he wasn't alone that night. Syl had been with him. And he thinks that, he really should have died in that high storm. He wonders if the high storm had changed him. But then he remembers that he had discovered drain spheres even before that high storm. And Syl had been with him, quite a time before that high storm as well. And then Kaladin hears a melody and walks, just out on the plains, and he walks towards it. He finds a man sitting by a fire playing a flute. It's a different flute than Kaladin's used to, because he usually sees people playing them like vertically. This one's being played, horizontally.
It's always weird to hear them say something like that, as if I'll agree with them that that's the weird version.
The man says he always worries that he'll forget how to play her. Kaladin asks the man why is he here, and the man first, he gives like a joking answer, and then kind of a philosophical answer. So Kaladin then begins to leave, and the man says, well, glad you're leaving, because I'm rather attached to my Stormlight. Kaladin freezes at that and asks, what? And the man says, well, my spheres. All bridgemen are thieves, and you'd steal them. The man says that he is the king's wit, but he will probably lose the title soon. It was his job to be witty. And Kaladin says that saying confusing things isn't the same as being witty. Wit asks, well, what does being witty mean? And Kaladin says, well, it's to say clever things. And Wit asks for Kaladin's name. After Kaladin gives it, he asks for Wit's name. And he says that he is many. He is called many things, but Kaladin can call him Hoid. Kaladin asks, well, is Hoid your name then? But Hoid says no. It's a name of someone he should have loved, and that it is something that he stole.
That is some cryptic shit. I didn't expect Hoid was going to be such a fucking, deep cryptic character. I thought he'd just be like when Bruce Campbell shows up in a Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah, selling hot dogs or doing something stupid and unrelated.
Yeah.
A cameo.
Yeah. Didn't know he'd have all this fucking associated lore with him.
Yeah. like a deep, curious past.
Mm-hmm.
And as Kaladin is about to leave, Hoyt says that he has something to give to Kaladin and holds up his flute. He said that is a trailman's flute, and is used by a storyteller to play while telling a story. Kaladin says, well, you mean to accompany a storyteller, but Hoyt says, no, I meant what I said. And then Hoyt begins to tell Kaladin the story of Darethel and the Wandersail. And what Hoyt does during the story, he'll play the flute, stop, and then like that, what he just played sort of echoes off the plains back towards him, and he tells his story while the music's playing back. And also while he's telling it, throughout the thing, Kaladin believes he sees images that accompany the story in the smoke of the fire.
Why is this such a common thing that happens? I wonder where it comes from, like playing a flute and telling a story. Because I thought of two scenes from things. One is in Chronicles of Narnia when Mr. Tumnus plays the flute and like the pictures play in the fireplace for Lucy. And the other one is just from Kill Bill when he tells a story and then he plays a flute too, like to accompany the story, when Bill tells a story.
I'd imagine because it's a pretty relaxed instrument. It's not like playing a saxophone and telling a story where it would be really intrusive,
Yeah, I just wonder where that comes from, like back in the day,
Yeah.
especially around a fire and stuff like that.
Hoy begins the story. Darethel was a king during the Shadow Days. He fought the Voidbringers during the days of the Heralds and the Radiance. When there was peace, he turns westward towards the open seas. So Darethel begins a voyage on a ship called the Wandersail. He was seeking the origin of the Voidbringers. One day while they're out sailing, they're hit by a high storm and they wind up crashing on an island. They were on a small ring of islands that surround a whirlpool. And they are welcomed here by people called the Uvara. And these people, they just seem nice. They always seem to be very agreeable. And then one day, while Darethel and his men are, working out, a young serving girl was bringing them some refreshments. Then she winds up tripping over like a stone, dropping the goblets and shattering them. The other Uvara then descend on the girl and brutally slaughter her. Darethel demands answers, and, their Uvara caretaker answers that their emperor will not suffer failure. As they stayed there, Darethel and his men, they went on to notice even more murders whenever the Uvara did something wrong, and they would get the same answer, that their emperor would not suffer failure. So then one day, Darethel decided to confront this cruel emperor. He and his men stormed the emperor's tower, and later then they came out carrying a desiccated corpse in fine robes. Darethel explains that, that this is their emperor, and he was in the top room alone, and has been dead for years. Apparently the people had been too frightened to enter his tower, so they did not know he had died. And then the Uvara begin to wail, and the island just goes into chaos with them like rioting, burning shit, all sorts of crazy shit. Darethel and his men realize we need to get the fuck out of here. So they storm the ship yards, get their ship that was being repaired, and they leave. And they're also joined by their caretaker, Nafti, who leaves with them. As they left, they asked what the fuck was going on back there. And Nafti tells them that if the Emperor was dead, that means all the murders that they have been committing all these years were their responsibility, not his.
I mean, the story is so interesting to me because in 2 seconds, he's going to ask what it means and be like, a story means a different thing to different people. And I did get something slightly different from it than I didn't have any sense of the responsibility thing that Kaladin has from the story. What about you, Sheta?
Yeah, no, I got a different story too. So
Yeah,
mhm.
I want to hear.
You say yours.
I didn't fully think about it all the way through, but it was just a pretty simple story about how people set up a god to kind of dictate how society is going to run, or an authority of some sort, something higher than them. And then they do travesties in his name without even thinking about why they're doing it, really. And when they have it proven that their god is not real or it's dead, they're lost and they feel so horrible about what they've done, where before what they did was completely justified, which is such a strange thing to think. If you do something and it's because you're like, okay, in this society we have order because we do not allow the smallest mistake, that's our societal norm, and that works for our society. And then you realize that the thing telling you to do that is not real, and the society falls apart, it means that like there should be no difference between the two. That's kind of what I read out of it. Like the idea that there would be a difference is illogical.
Mine's kind of similar, where it's basically just check your morals, like check your beliefs before following them. Check the source of why you do things, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's good too. I like that. So what does that say about the two of us? Some viewer can psychoanalyze us there. It's really interesting that what Hoyd says, and then I'll let you get to it, and then I'll comment on it, Joe.
And so after the story's done, Kaladin, he says, all right, now that is cleverness. Being able to remember a story like that and say it, that's being truly clever. And Kaladin, he asks if the story is true. And Hoyd says, perhaps it is.
Best
And
answer.
Kaladin asks, well, what'd you put in that fire to make that special kind of smoke? But Hoyd tells him, it's just an ordinary fire. I didn't do anything to it. Then Kaladin asks him, what did the story mean? And Hoyd says, it means what you want it to mean. And Kaladin says that it means taking responsibility. And then Hoyd asks him, all right, so what is it that you don't want to take responsibility for? People see in stories what they are looking for. And Hoyd tells Kaladin that he has no answers for him. He had come to this land chasing an old acquaintance, and he ends up spending most of his days hiding from him instead. And then Hoyd holds up his flute and says that he's carried it longer than Kaladin would even believe. He hands it over to Kaladin. Kaladin says that he doesn't know how to play, so Hoyd tells him, well, then learn. And when you can make the music sing back to you, then you have mastered it. He also says to take good care of his apprentice. Hoyd says to tell him that I graduate him, and that he's a full world singer now. And don't let him get killed. And then Kaladin thinks of Sigzil, and he says, alright then, I'll give him the flute. And Hoyd says, no, you won't. It's a gift to Kaladin Stormblessed, and I expect you to be able to play it the next time we meet.
Said frickin' Sigzil's tied up in all of this now? When he was telling that story, I really did think of those weird-ass culture stories he was talking about, so I think it's funny that was likely on purpose for me to think of.
Yes. I hoped that one of the crew had like a connection to something bigger. I thought it was Teft, but I like seeing that it's Sigzil. When he said he had a student, I thought it was Teft.
Yeah, same for a second. But then I just couldn't remember the name of the guy who told the stories. Now I will. I think it's like, how do you go from being the apprentice to a multiversal traveling, like words on a page come to life, whatever the hell he is kind of shit, to being a bridgeman on Bridge 4?
Right.
And he knows you're there and he's like, oh, that's where he is,
Like he's basically a slave. Like, does he
unless
not?
unless he's put himself there on purpose to become embroiled in the plot, because Wit knows two of the people to talk to, who just happen to be our main characters. Not because they're main characters, but I imagine because they're going to have some influence on the world,
Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying Hoyd knows who the title chapter characters are, and he has a spy in every story?
I don't think it's that meta.
Huh?
Oh God, a spy in every story.
Yeah. Was it Capsule? Did he accidentally die? Like,
I've got some thoughts on that. I'll say later.
Well, also, do you think that Sigzil knows about Hoyd being like a world traveler, or does he think that he's just a normal dude?
I don't fucking know.
From what we know of him, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think he is, but it would be certainly funny if he did. And he was like, okay, this is where the main character is. I'll go get on that bridge. But based on the stories he tells and the way his personality is, I personally don't think so.
I think he had said that he was there because he tried to kill someone.
Mm-hmm. But I think the term world singer takes a different meaning when you think of somebody like Hoyd than somebody who just travels the world singing about him. Yeah. And we know that Hoyd told a story to, I forgot her name, but Princess Girl in
Syrian Light Song.
Yeah. So we know that he knows the lore of different worlds,
Yeah. And Sigzil seems very much in this world,
mm-hmm. But this whole chapter took whatever I thought about Hoyd or thought about what I knew and has made me think a lot more about him, or think a lot more of him. He's I don't know. I got nothing. It's mysteries and mysteries with this guy. I think it's funny you set him up as being a guy who talks in like double entendres and just says clever stuff. and then you can just have him come in and just say mysterious stuff without it sounding too like they're just trying to be mysterious. You're just like, oh no, that's just his nature.
Well, I feel very vindicated
In what way?
because I noticed him in Elantris right away.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be at this level, but I'm very excited about it.
So now, Sheta, when we do our casting for this book, are you just going to keep Hoyd as who you had casted him in Elantris?
Oh, good question. Because I was just thinking I have a really good casting for him in this book,
Because,
but I forgot.
because
Did I
can
cast him?
Yep. You had casted Andy Serkis as Hoyd.
Oh, that's good, Sheta.
I might just keep that. That's a really good one.
I have to ask, how did they describe Hoyd's facial features? Because all of the Alethi have somewhat more what we would call like Asian facial features, right? And then they always point
singular.
out. Did they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just
Okay.
in this book. He's just described as like hawkish features.
Okay, yeah, but like whenever they see somebody who we would call Caucasian, they point out that they have like large baby eyes, you know.
Yeah.
So they did not point out that Hoyd had those eyes, did they? Or did I not remember?
No, they
not
did not.
specifically.
Yeah, so now I'm very curious about that. Because also Kaladin goes over and talks to him. He doesn't say this guy looks kind of weird. He's like, oh, it's just a regular, you know, kind of light ice type guy.
But he's not, though. He's kind of playing a flute, which is not a light eyes guy thing to do.
Well, no, that. I'm just saying visually.
Yeah.
Because so far, when people see somebody who's a different in-universe race, they almost always have pointed it out. However, maybe they don't, because I wouldn't know if they don't point something out.
Yep, and going back to the Ishik chapter where you had the three guys that were searching for Hoyd, you know, because they had told him, because he had mentioned back, it's like, you know, I've lurked diligently. No foreigner like the one you mentioned, with his white hair, clever tongue, and arrow-like face has been seen.
Okay,
And
so he does look.
Grump tells him he dyes his hair sometimes and wears disguises.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying he's doing the James Bond going over undercover costume?
Sure. We'll go with that. You only live twice thing.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to imagine. The 7-foot tall guy with shittily darkened hair pretending to squint his eyes. Or better yet, the Venture Brothers version.
All right. So after Hoyd leaves, Syl says, I don't like him. He's strange. And Kaladin asks how long she's been there, and she says, well, he was in the middle of a story, and I didn't want to interrupt the story. And then Syl tells Kaladin that she is behind what is happening to him. It's both of them, but without her, then nothing would be changing. She's taking something from him, but is also giving him something in return. It's the way it used to work, though she can't remember how or when. And she's willing to stop if he wants to, but then she would go back to being what she was before. And it's because of this tie that she remembers what and who she is. If they end it, then she loses that. Kaladin looks at her and tells her, all right, come with me. And he begins heading back to camp. While he's going back, he wonders about the responsibility that he is avoiding. And he thinks, about how he is taking a lot of responsibility, but he's also clinging to an excuse. If he was cursed, then he didn't need to hurt when he failed. He asks Syl, if he's not cursed, then why does he survive while others die? Syl says that it's because of their bond. It makes him stronger. He asks why it can't make him strong enough to help the others. She tells him that she doesn't know, but maybe it can. And Kaladin thinks, if he gets rid of it, then what would his purpose become? Just to die with the others? He thinks about why he is trying to help the Bridgemen. He sees saving them as saving himself. And he won't let them die because he knows what it would wind up doing to him. He was doing something good in helping them, but he's also doing, something selfish. And he begins to run back, and if it wasn't about saving himself, then it should be about saving them. And what would he do to protect them? He should seize whatever opportunity he could, no matter how it changes him. And Kaladin, he arrives back at Bridge 4 while they're sitting out eating the night stew, and he walks over to Teft, and he asks him what he knows and how he knows it. Teft explains that when he was a youth, his family belonged to a secret sect that awaited the return of the Radiants, but he quit also when he was a youth because he didn't believe in it. And Kaladin asks how much Teft knows about what he can do. Teft answers not much, just legends and stories. Nobody really knows what the Radiants could do. So Kaladin smiles and says, well, we're going to find out.
Finally, Teft. I was getting so fucking sick of Teft's knowing knowledge stuff and not sharing it. Was that so hard? He did it in one sentence, explained what he knew and how.
He's an awkward guy.
Yeah, well, I was starting to get super annoyed with that awkwardness.
Right. It's been a long time since he first
Mhm,
noticed and knew it. So
exactly.
and also like with how helpful it would be to know, because he could save
Mhm.
people and stuff. Like I was annoyed too. Like you could have saved people's lives by telling Kaladin, and maybe teaching him or showing him how to use it, or telling him what you know at least.
So yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Is there anything else you two want to talk about with that chapter?
Just it's really interesting to me that Hoyd doesn't just come in and tell a story. He comes in and tells the story needed to be told to one of our primary characters in one of his darkest times of need. That's a very specific thing to do.
Maybe that's what he means by the Cosmere needs him.
Could be.
He's a little Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll move on to our second chapter for today. Chapter 58, The Journey. Oh, wait, no. First, I need to ask you, this chapter was called Wandersail. So why do you believe that was chosen for the chapter title?
It was the name of the boat that was in the story.
Agreed.
I do also wonder if it's a name for another boat, maybe Hoyd's boat or something like that, or the name for what he does, which is wander and sail across the Cosmere or something.
Could be that was not a story from here, and that was something that happened to him long ago on his boat that he sails through the stars to get from world to world.
All right. Now we'll move on to chapter 58, The Journey. Epigraph. Ray Shapir, the Midnight Mother, giving birth to abominations with her essence so dark, so terrible, so consuming. She is here. She watches me die. Subject, a dark-eyed dark worker in his 40s, father of 3.
The way you say that in just such a mundane, clinical way makes it sound even more horrifying somehow. Because that was a fucked up sentence to read.
I'm not going to shout it.
I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it is. It's just written down. It's not like it's... well, maybe it is recorded. I guess we don't know. They could be using...
It's like a court scribe, or, how
we're
you...
assuming. For all we know, they have little Spren tape recorders, speaking Spren that can record something. We don't know.
They just say the sounds and the voice and everything.
Yeah.
A recording.
Or it's like those shells from One Piece that can record noises.
Yeah. They do have shelled creatures here. That could be canon.
All right. So we begin this chapter, and Adolin, he's at a wine shop with a couple of his friends, just, sitting there talking. And Adolin says that he loathes being wrong. He says that he was so sure that Sadeas would move against his father, and that it doesn't make sense why he wouldn't. And one of his friends, Toril, suggests that, maybe Sadeas is just positioning. He's trying to look strong. But Danlin, if you forgot, that's the woman that Adolin has been courting. She says, well, I'm new to the war camps. My assessment is bound to reflect ignorance. Adolin cuts in and says, you always say that, but you're not really ignorant. You're among the most clever women I have met. And she tells him that he shouldn't say things when a woman is attempting humility. And then she goes on and says that she doubts Sadeas would wish to start a war. And Toril says that, Sadeas still could have put shame on Adolin's family without, physically attacking them. And he says that even Adolin needs to admit the Blackthorn's reputation is less than impressive lately. Adolin snaps and asks him, what do you mean by that? Toril says that Adolin knows what I mean, and I meant no insult by it. Adolin responds saying that his father's reputation is sound, and that they have been winning recently. In the last few months, his father has saved both Sadeas and the king. While the others continue to talk, Adolin studies, the others, and really looks at what they're wearing. Their clothes are very fashionable and looked a lot more comfortable than Adolin's uniform. Before joining the war, Adolin had loved being able to design a look to match a given day. Now he only has 2 options, a summer uniform and a winter uniform. And then as a maid brings more wine, some of the others take it, but Adolin declines anymore because he has a duel today. And Adolin thinks about how he was wrong about Sadeas. and that, everyone hates being wrong. But Dalinar doesn't. He had said that he'd rather be wrong if it was better for Elhokar.
My man, that's the philosophy to go for.
And then one of the people he's with, Eshava, says that, I wish that he would step down. Adolin asks her what she means, and Toril tells him, the war camps, they're not ignoring what is happening to Dalinar during the high storms. Word is that he should abdicate.
Man, the audacity to say that right in front of his son, I could not believe.
Yeah. And Danlin comes in and she says that abdicating is an overreaction, but she does wish that he would relax some of these foolish restrictions. And Adolin says that, I've tried to get him to, but he won't. And then Adolin excuses himself because he has to leave to go prepare for his duel.
I had a problem with Adolin here because he's always complaining about how everyone underestimates his father and thinks bad stuff about him, But here he is with some friends chatting away how he thinks this stuff too and doesn't expect that to, if his own son is saying this stuff, he doesn't expect that to spread out through the camp. That kind of annoyed me.
Well, we've seen it before in the past where he would talk with them about how he wishes some of the restrictions would go down, but he never really talked with his friends about how, I think my dad should abdicate or he's going crazy.
Yeah, but complaining about his dad's edicts and stuff like that. That's some lords would execute you just for talking about that kind of stuff because they know how fast that stuff spreads. So what I'm saying is Adolin needs to be executed.
This seems like a pretty close group of friends. Am I wrong?
Loose lips sink ships, Sheta. Always remember that.
Yeah.
You just talk with your buddy about the plan, your Navy plans, and then boom, some spy over here or some guy overhears you, passes it to a guy that gets over to Germany's command. They blow up your boat.
Also, we're about to see some stuff with Adolin here that with him realizing things.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Crime's been done. Get the axe ready.
I don't think that they use axes.
You're right. You get the shard blade ready.
I think they hang him.
Jeez. Well, I don't want that to happen to Adolin, so
the
I'll
shard
withdraw.
blade would be much more cleaner.
Yeah, but because I know I think they mentioned the Bright Lord that used to be in charge of the Bridgeman, he had been hanged.
Well, those are just bridgemen. They don't deserve hanging's barely good enough for them.
Well, no, the Bright Lord in charge of them after Kaladin did the side carry. But also Sadeas does not have a shard blade. Anyway, so Adolin's leaving and he's hoping that none of the others had really noticed how upset he was, but also they don't really know him as well as Renarin did. As he's walking through with thinking, he thinks about Danlin and that, she's pretty and stuff, and he would like to be able to make this relationship last. He was also kind of sick of Renarin always teasing him about, jumping from woman to woman. And as Adolin is walking through the market, he wonders what the point of the codes really are. He notices how easy it is to be able to pick out the Kholin officers from the officers of the other war camps, since they're wearing the uniforms. And he thinks, well, that really doesn't matter, because we're not going to wind up being attacked with Parshendi. But still, Adolin looks at the other officers and kind of feels annoyed at just how casual they're acting. They're currently at war, and he thinks maybe the codes aren't about protecting them from the Parshendi, but they're about giving the men commanders they could rely on. Maybe they're about treating a war with the gravity it deserves and not just letting it all turn into a festival. He thinks that he sees now and wonders why it had taken him so long.
Mm-hmm. I like the way you put it. I like the treating it with the gravity it respects. That's the thing that's been frustrating me the most about the current Alethi.
Mm-hmm. It's happening. This is how you get people to change their minds. You just do it, and they will have to have their eyes open.
Mm-hmm. I feel like by the end of this series, the Alethi are going to turn from one of my most hated groups of people to one of my absolute favorites, honestly.
Yeah, they have a potential to be really good people.
No, not a good people, a cool people. I think they have the potential to be a very dangerous people that I would not like or approve of.
Well, good, like they fight for good and people and lives, and
I don't think so. It's kind of like the Klingons. I like the Klingons, but if I was in Starfleet, I'd agree with RoboCop and Into Darkness about how to deal with them. Just kill
You
them all.
can't throw
Whole
names
race.
around like that.
Names around like what?
You can't call him RoboCop and then have me imagine RoboCop in Star Trek.
Okay, let me get you his name then.
You mean Peter Weller?
No, the character's name.
Huh? Oh, the character.
Huh?
Nothing. It doesn't matter.
Hey, you're the one who said it. Now I got to do it. Admiral Alexander Marcus. There you go. You happy, Sheta? Admiral Marcus. Oh yeah, because Carol Marcus was his daughter. I should have remembered.
You, Carol Marcus poser fan.
Well, she's a legacy character.
The funny thing is that Peter Weller was also in an episode of Enterprise.
See, somebody's got to reverse engineer that to be some kind of alternate universe travel between worlds thing.
And in all honesty, it's the episode that I think everyone should just consider the final episode of Enterprise, because the one after that is the real final episode, and that is a terrible final episode. But so back to Roshar. We move over to Dalinar, Sadeas, and Elhokar. Elhokar, he's also wearing his shard plate. And they're sitting in the stands and they're watching the duels as they go on. And Dalinar is reciting to them a section from the Way of Kings. He tells them about how Noadon, who's the author of the book, he had chosen to walk from Abemabar to Urithiru. And Sadeas asks, why would he choose to walk if he's a king? He could have gotten like a coach or something.
That is such like a joke response from like a kind of character who just doesn't get it. But that was so funny.
And then Dalinar, he's like, you'll understand, let me just go. And he continues the section, and, Noadon mentions that even those dear to him had told him that kings don't do this. Noadon says that, if he, pretty much, it goes down to him saying that if he doesn't know how the common man lives, then, how could he draw up ordinances for them? So he goes through his walk and everything, and when he arrived back at Urithiru, he wasn't recognized at first because he had grown a beard, he looked more weary and everything. And then they bring him in, they clean him up and everything, and he's meeting back with his family. And they asked him, why didn't you just take the simple route? And all he did was just take off his sandals and showed him the calluses on his feet for explanation. And he just explains that all men have the ultimate destination, and does the destination matter or does the path they take matter? And that part with him showing up with like the beard and stuff and people not recognizing him, it makes me think a little bit of Odysseus showing back up and nobody recognizing him.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These stories do feel like ancient or myth stories, character stories. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This thing was full of good wisdoms I really liked. When you're a writer and you get to make up your own in-universe, like wise text, I think that's so funny to do. Because you're like, yep, this is what wise people would say that we'd pass down through the ages. This thing I thought of to say is so good that a whole people would follow it. I think is really fun to write.
And so Dalinar asked them, well, what did you think of the story? And Sadeas says that it was ridiculous. He walked all that way just to make the point that kings should consider the consequences of their actions. And Dalinar says, no, he didn't do that to prove a point. He did it because he really wanted to experience the things that his people did. And Dalinar explains that much of the Way of Kings is written like this. Noadon called them the 40 parables. And Sadeas says that Dalinar, he's always loved those sentimental stories. He has always been emotional, and that makes him genuine, but it can also get in the way of level-headed thinking. He says that the other High Princes think that Dalinar is self-righteous, and he says that Dalinar provokes them by the way he refuses to rise their arguments or insults. Dalinar says that, while protesting simply draws attention to the issue, the finest defense of character is correct action. Sadeas is like, well, who the hell talks like that? And Elhokar just jumps in and says, well, Dalinar does.
That's a good way to put down what he's saying, because that is the one problem with it. He cannot relate to other people and how he talks about it. So I really like Sadeas of all characters saying it so bluntly. I thought it was very funny.
Sadeas says that the others just cannot accept that what Dalinar is saying isn't an act. And Sadeas says, well, I think that Dalinar, you are a self-righteous prude, but at least you come by it honestly. And Dalinar, he notices that Navani has arrived at the duels, and she's sitting and she's talking, with a group of women, one of them even including Danlin. And he thinks about how she's recorded his most recent visions without complaint. She's never mocked him nor acted skeptical. He wonders if he should thank her, but worries that, she would then see that as an invitation. And then Sadeas, he complains about High Prince Bama's outfit. He doesn't like, he thinks that it's ugly and that he's sitting right across from him, so now he has to look at him. And
I love this part so much. Just critiquing his fashion sense to the point where he's basically saying like it's a moral negative to not have a good fashion sense. That was so funny.
Dalinar says you shouldn't judge others, on how they look. But Sadeas says, well, we represent Elhokar. Dalinar asks, well, what about my uniform? Sadeas tells him it has a timeless look that works for you. And he points out that the Shattered Plains are becoming a destination for foreign dignitaries, and it is important to present themselves properly. If Sadeas is to accept Dalinar's moral superiority, then Dalinar must accept Sadeas' sense of fashion. And then Adolin's duel is about to begin. He is facing Bright Lord Resi, who is the only full shard bearer in High Prince Thanadal's army. Thanadal had recently been vocal about Dalinar's faults, and so Adolin challenged his shard bearer in a friendly duel. And the duel will be the first one, they fight, first one to shatter one piece of armor on the other. As they fight, Adolin's clearly the better duelist between the two. Elhokar says that Adolin is good. He's even better than his father and Dalinar. Dalinar says Adolin loves it. Not the war or the fighting, but the dueling. And Dalinar says that Adolin could be champion if he wished. Dalinar knows that Adolin does wish it, but Adolin refuses the bouts that would put him in contention because it goes against the codes. And also, since Adolin doesn't duel for ranking, it makes the other shard bearers underestimate him. We also learn a little bit here about how, you can challenge others, and even if you don't have shard plate or shard blade, you can, borrow and use, the king's plate and, blade during a duel. It's part of tradition that you can do that. Even if they typically are not as big of, Gavilar wasn't a big fan of it and stuff, but he still continued the tradition.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too. That's gross.
Can I borrow your bowling shoes?
Yeah, dear. You get some money for it and some fucking poor loser who can't even win his own takes it.
I wonder, it's a nice idea, but I wonder if anyone's ever tried to borrow armor and then steal it, or kill the owner and then
if they do that, if they try to steal the king's armor like that, I'm sure they're going to face the might of the entire army. That just sounds like a bad idea.
It's literally impossible for them to steal a blade.
Yeah.
Because, if they try running away with it, all, Elhokar would need to do would be resummon his blade in its back.
Oh, yeah, it's magical.
And if you're putting on plate, you're not putting it on, in the comfort of your own home. You're in the middle of this war camp. I doubt you're getting out with it.
If you can take out the whole army, you deserve to have it, man. That's what I say.
You can just take out a good amount of guys and then run away. And then, that they're pretty powerful.
Adolin, he pretty much easily wins the fight. And after he wins it, Dalinar says that he wishes there was peace, and that way Adolin could dedicate himself to his dueling. Sadeas and Elhokar ask Dalinar if he's still talking about abandoning the war. And Dalinar thinks about his visions and how they had told him to unite them. He wonders if he's being a coward, but he thinks that no, I can't leave. I have to see this through. He will not abdicate, and that was that. But Dalinar does tell Elhokar that if he could make the order, then he would gather all the war camps and return to Elhokar. It's not because, he wants to abandon the, vengeance or anything like that, but it's because he fears for Elhokar's stability. So he would go back home, then we'd send envoys and scholars to the Parshendi to find out why they killed Gavilar, because they gave up on that way too quickly. He wonders if maybe the assassin was initiated by miscreants or rebels within the Parshendi. He'd also discover what their culture is, and yes, they do have a culture. He'd keep asking them until he learned why they did it, and then he would demand repayment in exchange for peace. He'd also speak with his scientists and discover a better method of holding this territory than what they're currently doing. He wouldn't abandon vengeance. He would just approach it more carefully. Elhokar looks surprised and says, that makes sense. And Dalinar thinks about how Elhokar was indignant weeks ago and wonders what has changed. and he doesn't give the boy enough credit.
He says that, and then immediately after, we learn that he's actually just scared for his life and wants the excuse to leave and be in his castle. I think that's really fascinating that he always seems to read the positive in him, even when I don't know if he fully deserves it.
Elhokar says that the latest attempt on his life has unsettled him. He says that they're trying to kill him like his father. The assassin in white was Shin, but Sadeas tells him that the Parshendi took responsibility for it. Elhokar says that they're savages and they're easily manipulated. It would have been a perfect distraction to pin the blame on the Parshendi, and then the Alethi go to war for years without noticing the real villains. Elhokar says they watch him, always. He sees their faces in the mirrors, symbols, twisted, inhuman. Dalinar and Sadeas share a disturbed look and wonder if Elhokar's paranoia is getting worse or was it always there. And then Elhokar says that he has heard that Dalinar and Sadeas' joint assaults have been fruitful. Sadeas says they have, but Dalinar is still slow, and Sadeas' troops are sometimes almost wiped out by the time Dalinar shows up. He suggests that Dalinar uses modern bridge tactics, but Dalinar mentions, no, the loss of life. Sadeas says that the loss of life is acceptable because they're mostly slaves, and so it's an honor for them. Elhokar...
I really love getting to see Sadeas' take on this. I always wondered if he had a justification. It's really interesting to see that he does.
He thinks it's an honor for them to
Exactly.
contribute
Well,
in a small way, he says.
I think he thinks that and also doesn't care at the same time. I think a part of it's kind of like, so he doesn't have to think of it any further. Like, he doesn't care that much, but he cares enough to have a reasoning for it.
And Elhokar suggests a compromise between the two. Dalinar, he could use some of Sadeas' bridges for the initial march to the assault. Sadeas, he can still engage the Parshendi first and secure a foothold before Dalinar's final assault. That way, once Dalinar's there to get that final bridges down, they're not going to be fired upon by the Parshendi. And Sadeas says that Dalinar would arrive at the plateau twice as fast, and since he's not being shot at, he's not going to cost any more additional lives. Dalinar asks Sadeas, well, what if you don't distract the Parshendi well enough and they're getting ready to shoot at my bridges? Sadeas says, well, then we'll retreat and we'll call it a failed experiment. Elhokar tells him that Sadeas took his suggestion to attack together, so try it his way once. Dalinar agrees to see how it works. And Elhokar, he gets up and he goes to leave in order to congratulate Adolin. As Sadeas and Dalinar begin to leave, Sadeas asks Dalinar to send him one of Dalinar's clerks along with a copy of The Way of Kings. It may amuse him to hear its other stories.
No, Dalinar, don't do it.
Why?
Because using bridgemen is evil.
Oh, the books, though.
The books?
Sadeas wants to read the books.
Yeah. I'm saying don't team up with the bridgemen. And the books aren't going to influence Sadeas in the right way. You think that they are?
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of, though? When you borrow your comics to your friends.
Oh, he will never see it again, are you saying?
No, he's like, hey, it sounds pretty cool. Like, let me borrow it. And then you have converted somebody,
I see. Infect somebody.
All right. And that's the end of that chapter and all our chapters we're reading this week. Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
I wonder what bridge crew will work with Dalinar.
You think it's going to be our boys?
How can it not?
We don't know.
I think something interesting is going to happen when Kaladin meets Dalinar.
I worry.
About what?
Kaladin does not like light eyes, and he's been looking for an excuse to lash. I just think he's going to eventually lash out at one. And if he happens to be working under Dalinar's army, I worry that that will be the one who's lashed out at either him or Adolin.
I have a guess about what I want to happen.
What you want to happen is different than what I'm saying. I don't want to happen.
Yeah, I could see that too.
So what do you guys make of Elhokar's paranoia and the people trying to kill him?
I think he's right and completely paranoid at the same time.
I think it's him and the king that was with Shallan. Like, they have those Angleheads following them because they're about to
Oh
get
yeah,
assassinated.
the Angleheads. I don't know how that
Yeah.
slipped my mind. Yeah, that was fucking crazy to see.
Hmm.
I was shocked to see those because I have just written him off as totally cuckoo, So knowing that he's seeing those things too really makes me wonder what triggers seeing them quite a bit.
Hmm. And like, I like that you see them strangely, like in a mirror and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In a mirror or like in a drawing, like these kind of non-looking places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wonder. I really want to see through his point of view, like what he's been dealing with.
Yeah.
I think the kings who are on the list that Zeph's list, they're definitely marked for something like that, and they can, they're getting
So are you
affected.
saying you think that Zeph's list is to save the world, like so that we don't have these monster things enter through the kings? Is that it?
What?
Okay, so
Wow.
that's
No,
what I was thinking when you said that. Like it's not to cause chaos, it's specifically to try to save everything.
that's pretty crazy, but no, that's not what I was saying. Just that they're marked for death, and that those guys show up when death is about to happen. That's all.
Oh, they're like super death spread.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to go over?
I had a question. Was Danlin the scribe that helped Dalinar before?
Yeah. Yeah. She
Oh,
was the one where, like when we first met her was when Adolin was like, "Yep, this is Danlin," and then she was the one scribing, like, there reading off the span read when he was talking to Yasna at the end of
I
part
see.
2.
Oh, the spy.
Yeah, basically.
The one I
I think
don't trust.
she's no, not Yasna. The Queen spy for sure. But it was just funny because I heard the sexy voice again, and so I was like, "Wait, is that her?" It is. She's described to have that sexy voice, so it's funny. Like that's part of what Adolin finds attractive about her.
Yeah, hey, he's been courting her like since the end of part 2. It's been going for a while.
I wonder why.
You wonder why a woman would court one of the most eligible bachelors in the kingdom?
No, that's it's been Adolin's like his fault why they don't stick around. So I wonder why it's working with her is all, and that maybe it's someone else pulling the strings, or just doing what would make Adolin, or maybe she's just sticking around because it's her job or something.
You think
I don't
Adolin's
think
that
that's
bad that you'd need to like bribe somebody like that to get them to stay around?
Not bribe, but if she is a spy, then she would just be like, well, I have to date him and be with him, so I'm not gonna get all mad when he like cancels a date or something.
I see.
Like the other girls were very needy and kind of like got annoyed with him, but if this girl is not worried about that, then that's why it's lasted this long.
Did you say needy and got annoyed for the guy who double books dates and like doesn't give any attention to people?
one of
Yes.
them. He brought her on a date to a murder investigation. I think with that chapter, just even said, Adolin, he just needs to find the right girl that would be into this sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
the
I
murder
stand by it.
investigation.
Yeah. Maybe Danlin is into that.
It's one of those modern girls who love those murder podcasts.
Yeah. She's like, ooh, this is a perfect date for me.
There are so many true crime podcasts.
Oh, there are. And content will keep coming with that. Good revenue stream.
All right. We'll move on then to our theories and predictions segment. So with Kaladin, will he learn how to play the flute before he meets Hoyt again?
That's the theory I've got to guess. The last thing I want to do, I'm sorry, is watch somebody learn to play the fucking flute in a book where I can't even hear it.
So
when he said that, I'm
up,
like, don't you waste any time playing that fucking flute. I don't want to listen to it. Though I thought they did a good job explaining how the flute sounded in that part.
You know what I imagined him playing? Or the scene? When he comes and he's... Huh?
Peter and the Wolf is what I imagined.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I imagined Hagrid playing his flute and playing the Hedwig's theme.
Mm,
All right, I
Uh,
just had to look up who the flute was in Peter and the Wolf. It was the bird.
well, there you go.
I think you would learn. I think that would be pretty cool.
What the fuck else does he have to do? I think he would. It's
Yeah,
not like he's particularly busy.
I think it would be nice. And since they sadly lost their singer, I think that the flute would be pretty
Oh
nice
god,
to have.
that's so sad. Too soon, Sheta. Too soon.
Hoyd told Kaladin to keep Sigzil alive. Will he be able to keep Sigzil alive now?
Mm, I already said they were all gonna die, so I'm forced to stand by that.
um, well, now he's got the flute. They're gonna be like a dual couple and do the stories and the flute thing as a traveling pair. So he's
You
got
may
to
have
keep
just
him alive.
described. You may have just described my most hated way for the book to end, Sheta.
And Sheeta, once again, Sigzil would tell you he's not a storyteller. He tells
Whatever.
different cultures. He's not there to say a fanciful tale while someone plays a flute.
But isn't that what Hoyd said he was doing? Or he's Hoyd's student, right? So
Hoyd said
oh,
that he graduates into a full world singer, but what Hoyd was doing here was not world singing. Hoyd was telling a story.
well, I'll say this to Sigil. Singers are performers. You have to just deal with that. If you're a world
Jeez.
singer, perform. You're not a freaking professor or anything.
All right, and the other question will be, how's Dalinar and Sadeas' new venture to have Dalinar arrive with other bridgemen gonna work?
I think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be bad. It's going to lead to Adolin or Dalinar being killed by Kaladin to get some shard plate or something, because he now feels a bigger duty to do that kind of thing. And the reason he needed to trust Sadeas and the visions was not so he or his kids could live or the people could live, but just like a lost situation to get Kaladin where he needed to be or something.
That's sad.
Yeah, I think doing this is the morally incorrect decision, and he's been bullied into it, kind of.
But they're so close to bringing everyone together.
Yeah, they are.
I think that's what the voice was actually saying, like bring them together to get to this point so that Paladin can get some shard plate.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I hope something different will happen. Paladin will be his bridge crew will be the one assigned to Dalinar, and then when they get together, Kaladin starts to shine because he's close to Dalinar, and then Dalinar's gonna be like, "What's going on there, boy?" And he's gonna be like, "Oh, nothing." He's like, "That's not true. You're a Radiance," and he's all shocked. And then it's like they have a really successful bridge run where
Not
they
glowing if he's
find
next to Dalinar.
because there's things in his armor and stuff that will activate
Yep.
Kaladin.
Because of things. I agree, Shita.
Well,
No, they have gems in their suits, you know.
they have gems, but what would happen, because Kaladin would need to suck in the Stormlight, so then that will power down the armor.
Yep, which would be dangerous for Dalinar, sadly. But Kaladin saves Dalinar's life, and then Dalinar is forever grateful, and he gives the shard plate that they win to Kaladin, and he will train Kaladin under his wing, and Kaladin will be like a son to him, which makes for Naren really sad.
Wow, we've got two very different ideas of what's going to happen, huh? You know what's going to happen is Sadeas' army is going to get completely and utterly obliterated by some monster. All of them are going to die. Only Dalinar's army will be left, and that's why Kaladin is over with him. It's just a narrative thing to get him over there. That's my true expectation now. Do you agree, Shita, or no?
With what? With your idea?
Yeah, what I just said, that I legit think that's what's going to happen, since we know things are probably going to ramp up soon.
I don't want anything bad to happen to Sadeas, so no.
Well, I didn't say Sadeas would die, but maybe he will, because now he just became kind of a nicer guy.
Hope not. Did you open it up, Joe?
Yeah, open theories. Go ahead.
I was stupid. Does anyone else think you can cut
Let me
this
save you
too.
some time. No, that's the answer.
Every time they say, they're like, "Oh yes, the gang's gathered around the fireplace eating spicy horny eater soup." I'm just like, spicy horny what?
I read it, so I don't hear it in that way.
But every time they say horn eater, I just hear horny. Horny what? Oh, it's just funny.
No one else thinks this. There you go.
Does anyone listening to the audiobook think that? Okay. I thought that maybe the people from the Hoyd's story called the Uvara. I was like, well, they're the Parshendi, right? Or I was like, they're in the middle of the sea, which is now dried up. It's also my theory about where they live, where the Parshendi live, being Uruthuru and stuff. And I was like, Uvara and Uruthuru sound kind of similar. So I was wondering if maybe that's a very, very old, ancient people from this ancient town or this ancient city.
Do you think the story actually matters or is true, you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, one thing I will say is they went west, and the Shattered Plains are on the east side of the continent.
East is just a long ways west if you go around again.
Yeah.
So
What is
But it's-
east if not also west?
it's what if east if not west?
Directions is nothing but a number.
And then let's see. I had a little giggle when Sadeas was saying about Adolin that he's such a proper lad.
Oh my God, Sheta.
He's very talented.
No.
That's going in my bucket.
It's going in the bucket.
The Sadeas Adolin bucket.
Good.
I think they would be good friends because Sadeas and Adolin are really into fashion.
Oh God, now you're friendshipping them. That's somehow even worse.
I just think they would really get along.
Mm-hmm.
And like Sadeas could really teach Adolin about fashion,
my
which he's
God.
interested in. Okay, so okay. All right, I have an so Syl is a Bindspren, and there are some Spren who get a deal like how she gets with Kaladin and become now like superpower Sprens. And if you collect all the different superpower Sprens, then you can have a lot of powers like Zeph has. And so, because they called people who could walk on walls back in the day wind runners, like that was their superpower. So I think that when you collect or you have a Spren like Syl, you get that power and stuff. So, but I also think that, I also wonder, maybe a bind Spren is also a bond, like the bond between people or maybe brothers that becomes very powerful and then is born from that. So that's why I feel like that's that weird connection she has, or he has with Tien and Syl.
That's right. That's really interesting, actually. Maybe that would. Well, the question we have still is: do Spren cause the thing, or do Spren just appear during the thing? Like she
I think
asked.
they just appear. I don't think they cause it, but I think that they just have a connection. And just like with the lamp, you make a deal with it, and then you have a connection with that one now.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's especially special about Syl. I just think that she was the one who was there and made a connection with Kaladin.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, as important as the lamp, I think, but now with the relationship, it's more powerful and more important. So, all right. Then my last idea is that maybe the shard plates don't glow. Maybe the people inside them do, like how Kaladin does. I kept saying how the shard plate armor doesn't glow anymore because it's not charged, but I think that actually it's the people inside them that are glowing and they're making them glow.
So the shard plate never glowed. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, like they're fine. That's why they're still powerful and able to be used, but they don't glow because the people no longer glow.
Yeah,
So,
interesting.
yeah, and that's why they're called the Radiants, because they're radiant.
Hmm.
All right. Justin, any theories you want to throw out there?
I think that that Hoyd is very specifically in every book we've seen him in. He has almost every book. He has talked to a protagonist and influenced this plot in some way, even if it was really subtle and didn't seem important. And except in Mistborn, when too many names, Vin is going to travel to see him specifically, and she gets a sense that she should not. I almost feel like something was because Ruin was in her mind at that time. He knew that this outside entity was going to try to influence the plot in her favor and discouraged her from speaking to him or it, you know, because that speech he gives to Kaladin is way too specific to what he's thinking right now, you know. And he has some kind of magic or knowledge of like people who will shape and move the world towards what he believes it should be, or even the multiverse or galaxy, whatever it is. And so I think he has some higher purpose like that, because to talk to both Dalinar and Kaladin and influence both of them and give them, because him talking to Dalinar helped influence him on the path that has now led to him working with Sadeas a bit. Him talking to Kaladin seems to be influencing him to discover his power and do more with that, which is both of those are going to be huge things going forward. Then he drops some very important information to one of the many names that start with S in this book that you just told me earlier. In that little show thing he did in Warbreaker. In Elantris, he just like it was something where he was selling some stuff. I don't remember the details, but do you remember off the top of your head what it was in Elantris, Joe?
So Elantris, it was at the end. Sereni was having him sneak weapons into New Elantris.
Okay, well that had a huge impact on things too. So that's yeah. And maybe he said something here and there. I think that he has some kind of thing where he's doing that. And he tried to do that in Mistborn and was not able to in the normal way of just talking to Vin, which I think is really interesting if there's any bearing on this, that an outside force would know, don't talk to this guy. He's bad news for bad guys. He helps good guys, you know. And my other thing is that one weird ass line he said where he's like, "Yes, I was just some words on a paper who stole my own life and identity," and yet, yeah. I'm like, this is pretty fucking meta for this book, because that's what he is. He's just a book character, you know. I don't think that he's self-aware that he's a book character, but I think he is aware that there's some force that would be a metaphor for the writer, and he's aware of it, you know. And so he's in here either working for it or trying to influence it for his own purposes. And that's why the people are hunting him down, because they're like, dude, we've got our multiversal prime directive. You can't go in and fuck with these worlds or something. So, and also we know that because we know from the letters that the person he was talking to did not like him interfering or talking with stuff. So I think it's a very specific what he's doing. I don't think it's in any way chance who he's talking to and what situations he's in.
I like hearing your thoughts since you are really into that kind of thing, multiversal stuff.
Like turn the story into a meta story about the story type stuff.
Yeah.
I guess the only story we've read where Hoy didn't really talk to one of the main characters. Technically, technically Emperor Soul, but there was that one deleted scene because he was the Imperial Fool. But in White Sand, he was just the bard on the boat in the last chapter.
I don't count White Sand because I didn't really like it that much. If he writes an actual book version, then I'll think more about that.
What if there's crossovers from that into the other books?
Then I'll be mad.
All right. Well, right now, so we've got, after this week now, we have 4 more episodes left for this book. Only 4 more episodes. So, it's time for me to do the same thing I do every time when we're getting towards the end of the book. I'm going to ask you, how does this book end? Just tell me the end of the book. What's going to happen?
The Voidbringers are going to attack. They're going to slaughter most of the army. Dalinar is going to be the only one prepared to deal with it. Kaladin will be over in his camp. And It'll end with Kaladin realizing some of his powers, Dalinar's tragic death, Adolin takes command, the king's dead, Adolin becomes the king. Kaladin's kind of a big part of this now because of where he was positioned. And we get our first Voidbringer rising, and it's all horrific and hopeless. And shit, how's she gonna get in? Oh, what's her name? Siri? Jesus Christ.
Shalon?
Shalon. Oh my God. Stop naming characters with that letter. She's going to have some horrible thing happen where the Voidbringers come in through her visions or something. Or they appear to her to tell her, hey, you need to do this because we're not the Voidbringers. We're the good guys. Yeah, that'll be it. And, and then the book's going to literally end with Hoyd getting captured by those guys. And they're going to say, their destiny is filled. You can't do anything. And he'll say, these people they may surprise you. And that'll be the end.
Does that play a role in the end for you?
No, kind of just in the background.
You say so much stuff. It's very disorienting for me because I go there with you.
Oh, that's the end. All that stuff
I gotta separate what I think will happen from what you think will happen. Well, I kind of said what I wanted to happen, which is Dalinar and Kaladin kind of meet, and then that happens where his powers are revealed and he's special, and then Dalinar immediately notices or realizes that Kaladin is a radiant and he's special, and he takes him under his wing and wants to train him and get him some shard plate. He's like, this boy is the key to where we gotta go next and stuff, and I think sadly, I do think that the king, his nephew, is going to be assassinated by Zeph. And that will change everything. Now Dalinar is not just a lord, he's now king and he's in a better position now to change things, but it will still be really hard since a lot of the lords don't like him. But I think Navani will support him and tell him to marry her and stuff like that to legitimize it more or something like that. Yasna, when she hears her brother is killed, will at the same time hear from Shalon, because I also think Shalon's going to get some kind of message or tell Yasna about her visions and what she can do and stuff, what she sees. And so she will have to bring Shalon with her to the front and stuff like that to bring this information to her uncle and stuff like that. So, but I do think that while killing Elhokar, the king, they will capture Zeph, and he will tell them what he's had to do and who has control of him and stuff.
I like them capturing Zeph. That's cool.
Yeah. They're like, he's the assassin in white. We can get answers from him. We can, yeah, I think that would be fun. And I like him. I want him to be part of the main story.
Mm-hmm. I want Kaladin to capture him. I want his good nature to even make him wind up saving the king that he would hate so much.
That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sheta, I need to ask one thing. So you said Dalinar will take Kaladin under his wing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean he buys Kaladin from Sadeas? Because Kaladin is a slave.
If he has to, he will. He might buy the entire bridge crew if he has to. But Sadeas might just be like, all right, just take it then. I'm glad you're seeing bridgemen are very useful. But it will actually be to secretly train him and stuff.
And also with Zeth. Zeth can't really tell them who his master is, because even Zeth doesn't know who his master is.
Well, he'll show them the list at least, and he might use Dobby tactics to tell him. Like, it's not you know who.
Oh God.
I do think Zeph is like Dobby.
Zeph is not like Dobby. What the fuck?
He shows up, he has to do what he's told, but he's an ally.
Oh my goodness.
What has Zeth done to prove he's an ally?
He doesn't want to kill people.
Yeah, okay. He doesn't want to kill people. Okay. Can't argue with that, but that's not that compelling of a...
He could be persuaded to not kill,
Yeah.
All right, and now we'll jump over to our characters of the week.
My favorite character is Dalinar for getting everyone to slowly start seeing things his way. The king, Sadeas, and his son Adolin too, by just kind of staying true to his things he believes in and he wants to do. And when he said the plan about what he would do and the king liked it, I thought that was really good.
My character of the week is Hoyd for cryptically dropping all these hints and also for telling Kaladin a story that I actually found pretty interesting. Not that bullshit his apprentice says, stupid shit like that. An actually interesting story that was exactly what he needed to hear in order to be influenced to do what it sounds like he needs to do.
All right, and then for me, oh man, I was torn between two. You know what? I'll just go with Adolin for really starting to notice like the stuff about the codes and being like, yeah, I'm starting to actually see what my father is saying about this. Adolin's not just caring about like fashion and wanting to wear something nice and being able to drink. He's actually understanding and really thinking about the gravity of the situation.
He's maturing a little bit.
Yep. And my honorable mention was Syl. She was very close to also taking it.
She was really cute, getting all mad.
All right. Well, now we'll go over to some comments and stuff we've gotten. So first is from our Hope of Elantris and Elantris wrap-up episode. This one's from Max270696. Hey, I joined after Data stopped by for an episode. I have to tell you, I really dislike Elantris, but you guys made it really enjoyable.
Well, that's nice. Good. Glad to give some joy to Elantris because I love that book.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
Joe is a great host. I'm really envious of Justin's voice, and Sheta has some of the most unhinged but funniest takes ever.
Wow. Thank you. I think.
Can't wait to binge Mistborn next. Well, if you're still following us at this point, then you made it through Sheta's unhinged ships.
Oh no!
Yeah, you think Mistborn. You think Elantris was unhinged for Sheta? Oh my god! That book is downright tame by comparison to what we get out of her.
Well, Elantris, Sheta's idea was that Serene was making a harem for herself with all the guys.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Elantris will go from book 1, it's all about Kelsier and Vin shipping. Book 2's Zane and Vin shipping.
Oh my god.
And or Seer, sometimes.
Yeah. I forgot about Vin Tensoon shipping.
Oh god, no.
And so yeah, if you've managed to, you know what? If you've managed to make it to this point.
Oh yeah, okay. They're doing Mistborn after, right? So it's not spoilers.
Yeah,
for them.
They're reading. They're going in order.
Okay.
So if you've still managed to make it all the way through this point, leave another comment telling us that you managed to make it and did not have to tap out. All right. Next one's from Way of Kings, chapters 45 through 47, from Reader Warrior. From chapter 45, the difference between what Spren are in the modern world and what the Returned are said to have been like is comparable to looking at geckos and being told giant fire-breathing dragons once existed. Sure, they are similar in nature, but one is a passive thing we see every other day, and the other is a creature of calamity.
What were we comparing the Spren to?
So Spren and what the Return are said to have been like.
Oh, okay. The fairies.
What drives me insane is the bias/victimless of, oh, she wants to prove a religion wrong, that we annoyingly see it in real life. No, Yasna just wants to find the truth with the lens of faith placed aside, not crushed under heel.
Mm-hmm. That's why she's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There are 10 essences things can be soulcast into. I think from what we've seen so far, it's like blood, smoke, stone, grain, and metal. I do like the idea that Shallan thinking about her sin applied to blood, when she soulcast that goblet.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
There is a connection between soul stamping and soul casting. However, even though they can produce the same effect, they work through different means, and therefore the rules may be different. You'll find a lot of magics have some level of linkage.
Oh, so he's just ripping off his own systems. He's not even coming up with new stuff.
Justin, you're the one that pointed out that soul stamping and soul casting seem similar.
He's a hack. That's what I'm saying. I need something completely no crossover whatsoever. Every book.
All right. And this one, I think Sheta was talking about how there was like only a finite number of Parshendi. It's like, do you mean there's a finite number of Parshendi in the way that there's a finite number of people? Or that now there's an endangered number of Parshendi left?
I'm trying to remember.
She also might not think that anymore.
I'm trying to remember the conversation. I don't think they're endangered, but I guess that's what it would mean, that there's only so many, Okay, I think there's only so many, but I think that there's a lot. Because I think they take up that entire area that would be the ocean.
The only Parshendi you've seen have been yards away in a war zone, yet you're claiming to have only seen men. Some could be of a different sex. And maybe the kids aren't, I don't know, not on the battlefield. Well, since then, we have seen Parshendi women, so...
We think.
Well,
Yeah,
according to
maybe
Dalinar, we've seen them.
Dalinar's got a strange taste.
Always tell a chick. I forgot.
I know women, he says.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know
that's a woman.
Yeah. Boy, howdy is it.
Dalinar is a fiend.
All right. From chapter 46, Honor Odium the 16 sounds awfully familiar.
Nah. I thought that about Odium, for sure.
I don't know what that is.
That was the name that Kaladin said that Syl freaked out at, and I thought it sounded very similar to the Ruinite thing,
Ruinite?
Or no, I'm sorry, to Ruin, the concept of Ruin in Mistborn.
Oh, okay.
And you also had like the big face in the clouds calling Kaladin son of honor, son of Tanavast.
Yeah.
What is that? Tanavast?
We don't know.
Oh, okay. Oh, I had a thing I wanted to say, but this should be in the theories. It's about Adonalsium. And I was like, Adonalsium sounds like Adolin a lot. And that's when Hoyd was saying that words were funny, that they were a bunch of words mixed together. So,
So what's the theory? Jesus, that's a huge one.
Yeah, that Adolin will be sacrificed for something,
Adolin will be sacrificed? Not that he's Adonalsium in human guise? That's what I thought you were getting at.
Oh, yeah. I thought he would be sacrificed and we get a pile of Adonalsium. Like
a pile of it? You think it's a...
Yeah, because that's what it's a metal in Mistborn, So
what? Was it? What? Was
Atium.
It? Yeah, Atium.
Atium was
a name, Sheta, not a metal.
Huh? Atium's a name? Or
Adonalsium was a name that was said, not a metal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're thinking of Adium, which was the body of ruin, but it's also the metal that they burn to let them see partially into the future.
Okay. And so what is Adonalsium?
It's a name that we heard is beyond all of it, like all mysteriously, and then was also dropped in this book by Hoyd, like you said.
Okay. I wonder. That it was just weird that he said that thing about the word combinations, and then.
No, you're correct, Adolin and Adonalsium. There's enough there for me to be convinced he's a Jesus figure who's come down in human guise. That's just what it is.
They did say he was very talented in this chapter.
Exactly. You got me believing it now, just based on that.
Yoo-hoo!
I mean, I don't actually believe it, but boy howdy, when they reveal that, I'll say I knew it all along.
And comment continues. I liked how Kaladin was embarrassed to see the woman's safe hand. It's fascinating to think what upbringings can lead to societal norms, or what might have led to covering a woman's right hand, or what covering a woman's left hand stems from. And from chapter 47, the Black Piper love their music.
No idea.
I think Black Piper was mentioned in the epigraph. And he's
no
just
idea what the band is.
Yeah. I
That
don't
would be a
either.
nerdy band if it's named after this.
I doubt it.
Kaladin, I'm racist against racist, Stormblessed, not taking the symbol of the light eyes, where it said those who take the blade become light eyes, does not make sense.
Yeah,
Huh?
Sheta.
Wait, what?
You were trying to
Oh,
say it didn't make sense that he wouldn't
yeah.
take it.
I just didn't know he was that racist. I thought he would want to save his friends more than care about being a racist. That's all
Well,
I'm
I don't.
saying.
He didn't think that he was not going to save his friends.
Well,
He
having
had no
that was
reason to believe. Well, he was giving the blade and the plate to one of his friends, so that would protect them too. And he had
that.
no reason to believe Amaram would then slaughter them.
Yeah.
And Kaladin's only gotten the finger tingle for the spear, not any other weapon so far.
That's because he's never held a shard blade. More's gonna tingle from that, I can tell you.
Why did you make that sound so dirty?
Because they feel the what's that called? The thrill.
The thrill.
Yeah. He'll feel the thrill, Justin. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thrill is very uncouth already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Kaladin is super against war, well, compared to the average person, but he's against losing his people in wars. And then from the questions and theory segment, no mating, the cryptic creatures, and Shallan, please, Sheta.
Ugh.
Wow.
You said
Wow.
that.
Wait, what? What? Did I?
Yes.
No, I did not. The cryptic creatures that she draws? That's pretty cool.
You just jump in, traumatize all of us, and don't even remember, huh? It means nothing to you. Well, to us, it scarred us for life.
Why are you so certain this is a story of destruction and creation? I feel as if that was more tied to Mistborn with preservation and ruin.
Bro, every story ever written in all of time is a story of destruction and creation. That's my philosophy on that. Because everything that's ever happened to humanity is about destruction and creation. You can't escape it. It's in everything.
You could pick those out. It is a really big part of being alive.
Exactly. We're born and we die, and that's what humans know. We build and we destroy.
And then from our person of the week, Brandon doesn't do it often, but when he does horror, it's terrifying.
Yes.
It's an important distinction how Kaladin, upon looking at the Shardbearer, makes him face the fact he doesn't want the right of the Shard. He doesn't want the law or the justification of the power he could have with it. No, Kaladin simply wants it. Kaladin simply wants to make it so he can save others.
He needs to learn. You can't just make it. You have to have a shard blade and kill all the people who are wanting to kill your people.
I'm pretty sure that's part of the responsibility he's realizing here that he was giving up, you know?
Yes, I think that's what I was feeling when he gave that up. And he was like, oh,
Yeah.
just give it to Jeff. You know, I was like, you can't just give it to Jeff. You got to do it, you know?
Yeah, Jeff. No.
I was so confused. Like, why are you shirking this responsibility? And you just throw it to Jeff, you know, like it's yours, you know? Yeah.
And then from the responses, I recently have been rebuying the Cosmere books while I'm over here to have the UK covers.
Yeah. Traitor.
Brandon also did just post a video about how difficult it was to publish in the UK. I highly recommend watching it.
Interesting.
Because they need those kind of covers specifically, and he agrees with me.
He fights for it, but that's what they had to give up
That
on.
was the compromise.
Like, all right, if we can have these covers, then we'll set it over here.
Next will be from our Way of Kings 48 through 51. First from Alcade 946. So fun fact, all the book titles in the Stormlight Archive are named after in-world texts. Kind of like this one is The Way of Kings. Brandon Sanderson wanted to name Book 2 of the Stormlight Archive, The Book of Endless Pages. His editor came back and was like, no way you can write another book this long and call it that. So he came up with a different name.
I wouldn't have liked that title.
Yeah, because I would have been like, that's not right, you know?
Everyone just made fun of it too. Been like, oh, it sure is. You would have just heard that over and over.
I think the current title is a lot better.
I don't
Yeah,
know what
but
it is.
I have heard.
You'll tell me.
The current title of this book series, Sheta?
The second one, right? The second book. That's what we're talking about.
Well, I was literally going to bring it up once we're done with comments, talking about the next book we're going to read, but that way people can buy it.
The
It's-
book
Okay,
of
it's not
endless
a spo-
stages, Sheta. That's the
That's
title.
okay. It's gonna be Dalinar's reign because
Yeah,
his kingdom.
Dalinar's reign. Kaladin goes berserk.
And then next from plus 9775. Hell yeah. Always makes my week seeing these show up in my feed.
Yay!
All right, and Koval Petro 28. Very awesome episode today. I do like that you guys keep up with obscure comments, about bread and other Sheta bizarre thoughts.
Bread?
Where you brought up, see, I told you the bread was going to be bad for Shallan, and we're like, no, you said the bread was going to make her fat.
Oh, God.
Yeah. They. Yeah. All around, you should, eat less bread if you don't want to get all puffy or dead.
And then they put in their 3 most hateable villains. Number 3, Dolores Umbridge, always a good choice. Melda Staunton, who played her in Harry Potter, was impeccable as the Queen in The Crown. Number 2, any celestial dragon from One Piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are some that aren't so bad. I mean, St. Charlos, he has a sad backstory. He just wanted a mermaid.
Yeah.
And couldn't
He
get
is-
one.
You're right. He is the sympathetic one.
And then number 1, Kyle from Live Ship Traders Trilogy by Robin Hobb. He is just the worst. He assumes to understand everything by knowing nothing.
I'm afraid
What
I do
series?
not know.
I haven't read any Robin Hobb, so I can't say anything about it. And then they add in, and I want to give Sheta a win because Joe and Justin are wrong. There is absolutely a scene where Daenerys imagines herself with Mormont, but she is like, ew, he is hairy and too old. I know for sure because I have reread Clash of Kings recently.
That is
See?
true. When you
I
say, I do
told
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
She,
For
for one
you both
second,
were
she
fighting me.
considers it. She does.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. You were both
My
wrong.
whole thing though is she's not there like, you know what? Maybe I will go into this romantic thing. She's only thinking that because he's purposely like trying to gaslight her and cut her off from everyone else. That way she can only rely upon him.
I think you mean romancing, Joe.
Mm-hmm. That's called courting.
It's called courting. Yep, that's it.
Because that's literally what, once Dro goes out of the picture, that's what he does through like the next 2 books is whenever anybody else is there that could give her advice, he's like, no, only listen to me. Get rid of them. You can only trust me.
Joe, are you trying to tell me that gaslighting a 14 to 15-year-old girl into believing you're the only one she can trust so that she'll date you is wrong in some way? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Okay.
You're like, what have I been doing?
Oh, God.
And needless to say, I really like Jorah Mormont as a character. But
I love him.
but also I'm saying that he's not a good person.
He follows his heart. That's the least we can all do.
All right. And then from Reader Warrior for this episode, for my favorite hateable villains, I'll pick Straff Venture, Dolores Umbridge, and the Warden from Shawshank.
Is that good?
Oh, and an honorable mention for Pon Krell.
Pon Krell. From what?
Pon Krell was from Clone Wars.
Oh,
He was
okay.
the,
Yeah, it sounded Star
was
Warsy.
it Basilisk or whatever that species is called. They're the ones like the 4 arms.
Oh, like how could I forget his name? Who from the bar
Like
from the
Pod Racer.
No, the
No.
character Justin hates.
Yeah, the
Oh, Dexter
diner
Jetster.
guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Yeah, he was an unlikable character. Yeah, you're right. When they slowly
Pon Krell.
how to follow orders and they realize he just hates clones and is defecting to the Sith. Yeah, that guy was so evil.
I don't know.
Man, I forgot about him. He was great. Yeah.
For me, once they revealed how evil he was, then I was just like, all right, I really like this character. I really
Yeah.
like when characters are just so evil. It's like,
He was cartoonishly evil, and having it be a plot about we're clones, we must do what we're told. That's our lot in life. Wait a minute, this guy is like, he may seem like he's trying to kill us, but he's our master. He's in charge. He has a better plan. No, he is trying to kill us. Was such a horrifying realization to have, and that it was
and I think that,
Anakin's clones too. Oh
yeah.
man,
And I think it was even a longer arc, because usually arcs would
it
be like
was.
3 or 4 episodes. I think that wound up being like 5 episodes long or something.
Mm.
And then he had the coolest thing where, since he had the 4 arms and he was big and bulky, he was able to fight with the 2 double-sided lightsabers.
Yeah, he was great. Save that whole
Right.
species for me.
Cinderella 3 does have time travel. The evil stepmother steals the fairy godmother's magic wand, basically ices her, and then forces her daughters to manipulate the prince. It's actually more of a redemption story for one of the stepsisters.
Yeah. Oh man. Weirdly, the Cinderella sequel movies are like, I have a cult following like that.
You're kind of epic, weirdly.
Yeah.
For fucking Cinderella of all things.
Mm-hmm. The story's done, but we're like, no, it's not.
Holy crap, I forgot how much I love the Balto movie.
Yeah. It's a good one. Gotta give it a watch again.
I see your governor and raise you Gregory, the hilltop leader.
He's pretty bad, yeah.
I don't remember Gregory.
I don't think I got that far. I think I'm one volume before that, unless I'm remembering something wrong.
Oh
wait, was the hilltop the village they were in? What was the hilltop again?
It's been so long since I've read it, and like I caught up, so I was having to read it monthly, and then I just stopped. And I think now that's ended, I have like 40 issues I need to read to finish it. I was around like 155, but I do not remember Hilltop. I remember so many of the other characters, but I don't remember that.
Isn't it he an earlier character, I thought? Oh, maybe he's just a TV show character, actually.
Well,
it's where Maggie and goes to live for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of culty, I thought. That was what was
Yeah.
it?
I'm remembering now. I was looking it up. Yeah, I have seen that.
All right. I'm looking. Yeah. I see the design. So I got past that. I just literally don't remember him. I don't remember the character at all.
Yeah, he's just terrified of losing his power.
When I heard that name, I got this icky feeling about him. So
all right, then chapter 48. Free healthcare? I'm moving to Carbranth. Team Taravangian all the way.
yeah, the best hospital.
All right, and then fun fact. The second book of the Stormlight was going to be titled Book of Endless Pages. Brandon changed it because naming a book with over 1,000 pages seemed rude.
I've heard that before.
I also thought I heard his publisher wouldn't let him, on the same way that book 1 of Mistborn is now just called Mistborn and not the Final Empire, because they thought starting a series with the word final in the title would confuse people.
I disagree on that one. That's fucking badass.
It would be confusing if you're just scanning books, like I would have to be like, wait, is this the first one? I would have to look at a list to, and that's just one more step from me buying the book. So I think that was smart.
Right. He brought something to cheer her up at a time when she needed cheering up. Talking about Capsule and Shallan.
Yeah, I was so tired of his freaking jam at that point. So I think it was just so funny that it ended up being such a big part of what happened to him.
When I first read this, I just thought this was a natural reaction to strawberries for a Rasharan.
I thought that too. It was kind of weird to have a strawberry. Like, do we have any other thing like that is a real thing? Like, do they have normal fish like salmon and stuff, or some other thing like?
Well, they've mentioned horses and
horses.
chicken.
Okay, all right then. It's not as weird. Oh yeah, that's also in that same area that had the strawberries.
Yep, Shinovar.
Mm-hmm.
Shinovar is kind of like you just cut out a part of Earth and threw it into one section. Chapter 49. I think the best part of this chapter is how it showcases the best way to fight depression. Surround yourself with friends, do an outside activity, be reminded of your success, do something new. Checks marks all around.
That's true.
Chapter 50. For whomst might have hired Shallan in Yasna's eyes, and who sent Capsule?
I don't know. Well, she thought it was people who didn't like her, like people who didn't like her being a heretic.
Did she say who she thought it was specifically? I don't think she really
No.
spoke on it that much.
I don't think so.
No. And chapter 51. Nothing has changed, and he would take the blade next time? What changed is that Kaladin just saw how corrupt Light Eyes were. What he saw is how corrupting the power of Shard Plate and Shard Blade can be. Really think that after being enslaved, forced to be a bridgeman, and repeatedly saw what honor Light Eyes have, he'd still pick up a blood-soaked blade and induct himself into their ranks?
No.
Maybe.
I think that he will have to see something or learn something different. Like the shard blades are not the property of the Light Eyes. It was actually of the land or of the Spren or something. It was a pure thing before they got it. And he will get it. He will accept it in that way. So not through Light Eyes and how they use it for violence, but through the natural way of radiance and stuff, you know. I think now too that he is more of a radiant, he will feel a different kind of pull towards the plate and it will be more natural. Also, he doesn't want that one. That one's used and it killed his friends. He might want
Used.
Yeah.
I need it new.
Yeah, a nice one.
And then from our theory segment. So somehow Yasna knew the jam was the antidote, somehow soulcasted it without her soulcaster. Both allowed Shallan to eat the poison bread and ate it herself, just to root out Capsule?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's how
I'm
much
not
he
sold
hates
on that
Capsule.
one, Sheta.
And also she's probably thinking, fuck you, Shallan. You tried to kill me. So he probably wanted to kill them both. And who knows, maybe she already took a little bit of the antidote already in preparation.
No. That's my answer. No.
And then from when Sheta was saying they should hide one of the bridges in the chasm, surely someone would notice one of the main bridges being missing.
Not at night, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bridge. It's just a pile of wood.
It's just one of the most important parts of their army's strategy.
Only if they're about to go into a fight. Otherwise, I bet they're just sitting like some construction equipment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then
But, I do think that I was right in that they're gonna use rope to bring stuff up and down from the chasm. So that's something. Maybe not a whole bridge, but other stuff. Do you see that, Justin?
Tell me.
I said earlier that they would like bring stuff up and down from the chasm, and I said with like rope and stuff. And now they got a hold of some rope, and they're gonna do that kind of stuff now. They already got like money out of there, and now they're gonna tie stuff to the rope and then shoot it out of there and then drag it up and stuff like that, you know.
I don't remember that being said.
Well, that's my idea because
okay.
The rope. Yeah, sorry. That was just my idea for the rope.
All right, and then next will be from our Way of Kings, Interlude 7 through Chapter 53. First, from J. Ramirez, 34. Joe hearing a serial killer in the beginning of the episode concerns me. I've followed quite a few Way of Kings read-throughs that didn't finish the book and their channel goes silent. I'll have to break out a whiteboard and some strings and start working on uncovering who this strange serial killer is that is targeting Way of Kings read-throughs, and before they get Joe.
Oh no! That was pretty scary, Joe.
The serial killer that was hiding inside my couch.
No, that's scary.
And then from Dek Ha. Totally unrelated to the book, but how do you know your friends well enough to know what games they haven't played when they aren't sure themselves? I will say, it's only because we were talking about Kingdom Hearts that I knew for a fact Sheta had not played Green Drop Distance.
Because she borrowed it from Joe. So I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've been lending her the Kingdom Hearts games. She's only played the first one. And I know that she will like the later games and the worlds they go to and stuff. But she just hasn't been playing them, and it's been getting annoying. So I keep telling her to play them. That's why I know she has not played Dream Drop Distance.
The fact that you haven't played
I have to watch
Kingdom
through
Hearts
hours
2
of
is
cutscenes.
ridiculous. You have no idea how much you'd like it.
I loved the first one so much, and
you'll like
excited.
2 more.
Okay. I can't believe you're yelling at me.
But if it's other games, I wouldn't be able to say. It's only because it was Kingdom Hearts.
No, they keep tabs on me for everything.
Yeah.
That's just-
Sheta will just get a call in the middle of the night of, "Did you play that game yet?" Just
I
like,
see that you're online but not playing that game.
I see. Yep, that's it.
And then from Reader Warrior, all hail Lelouch. This is because from the opening I did a Code Geass Lelouch thing.
Mm.
And then he's going into our ranking of the Pixar movies. Fudge, how am I supposed to rank these? Third will be Inside Out 2. Second is Toy Story 3. And first will be The Incredibles.
Based.
Honorable mention to Cars for being the movie I can do perfectly line for line because it's my youngest brother's favorite. Talking about remembering movies line for line, it always brings me back to like a decade ago. It was me, Justin, Sheta, and Nick on like a road trip. And we went through A New Hope line by line, seeing if we could go through that entire movie just from memory. We got very close to being like having it all correct.
Dang, too bad we're not part of a group to do it to win an egg for the Ready Player One trials.
That was the most confusing way you could have made that reference, Sheta.
I just said it how I thought it in my brain. So.
Also, Sheta, the movie they did in there was War Games.
Was it not Princess
it was
Bride?
The Shining.
Oh,
it was Monty Python. No, it was Monty Python. They had to do
Monty
line
Python,
for line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it was both. They did War Games earlier in the book, and then at the end they had to do Monty Python.
Okay.
Because I remember, because I saw when I was reading the book, it's like War Games. I haven't seen that yet, so I put down the book and watched the movie War Games.
Did it help you?
Not really.
Help what?
Help you appreciate the book in a new light.
No, because they just gloss over that stuff pretty quick, if I recall.
Yeah. Plus the bad writing of the rest of the book doesn't quite help. All right. Then from Interlude 7, what would you ask of the Night Watcher? Blade and plate? Food and shelter? An end to violence?
No way you can ask for an end to violence. I wouldn't ask shit. You don't fuck with that kind of hoodoo.
That's a devil's wish right there.
Yeah.
But I would ask
I would ask the Night Watcher for the winds of winter and a dream of spring.
And then he'll take away the last book that would have been in there, and you'll only get those two. That'll be the or all memory of the first 5 books. You won't be able to remember anything that happened in them. There's
Damn the devil.
Yeah.
I would ask for a mermaid tail.
Like a real
it's
one?
Just gonna turn you.
I would ask to be a real mermaid.
Jesus.
It's just gonna turn you into whatever Justin Long got turned into in the movie Tusk.
Yes. A walrus.
She'll be a freak of nature. It'd be like a backwards mermaid, where it's just your top half is a fish.
You get turned into a Luffy drawing version of a mermaid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a bad wish.
And then from Interlude 8. Also, important to remember, Shadesmar is directly stated to be the cognitive realm in this chapter. Yeah, that was something that they brought up in there, but you two didn't bring it up when we were going over the chapter. But yeah, they did say that the cognitive realm, and then also called it Shadesmar.
Cognitive.
That ties into the stamp book stuff when they talked about the ways that you remember, right, Sheta?
No. What are you saying?
When they were talking about the different the ways you got to convince something to be something else, and the cognitive one is how people. I believe it was either how a thing perceives itself or how other people perceive it. I don't remember which.
Oh, I did not keep up with the technical aspects of making soul stamps and stuff. I like the idea of that stuff, but yeah. But that's interesting that that's the same realm or the same idea. Not what I would have thought. Is it like a creativity space, I wonder?
They mentioned that you have 3. You have the physical realm, the cognitive realm, and the spiritual realm.
I think I have to start taking notes again.
And then from Interlude 9, please note there is a difference between Parshendi and Parshman, at least to the average Alethi.
All Parsh are the same to me.
Parsh.
And chapter 52. This is my favorite chapter so far, the day the Radiants died. It's also likely that in historical context, the Radiants were probably blamed for this, the big slaughter that was going on. What would have been told, how they abandoned their oaths and everyone killed each other over their blades, or that the Radiants themselves killed everyone there. How do you prove something that happened 1,000 years ago when only half of the current population is able to read and write?
Yep.
Chapter 53. Expand Bridge 4. So if Kaladin were to vocalize he wants to protect others, he'd lose his powers?
I don't remember. What was that?
I don't remember what you were saying there about his powers. It's been a few weeks. And then from Theories and Prediction segment. Okay, I'll retcon my comment on the Death Star to that it was a plot device, not a plot hole. And I don't really care about it. I just remember thinking that it was, when the trailer came out, funny that Disney was wasting money on a movie to stop people complaining about the exhaust port.
It would be like them to do that.
They're saying, I think it's more like a warthog.
I think it looks like a puma.
All right. Yep, so those are all the comments and stuff we have so far. Went through quite a bit because been a little bit backed up and that stuff. So there, we've gotten caught up with what we have.
Oh, I thought we just got super popular.
All right. And then, so as I said earlier, we're getting close to finishing this book, and people are probably wondering what we'll do next because at the time this was being published, Brandon Sanderson, the Cosmere, pretty much had 2 different series going on. So you had like Stormlight Archive and another series, and they were like kind of going back and forth. So same thing with myself. I've thought about, do I want to like go back and forth with publishing? But I decided, no, I would rather stay with Stormlight, continue this story for now.
Yeah, man, I want to go back and forth. I love doing that kind of weird shit.
Like Deep Space and Next Gen?
Yeah, like when you watch 2 shows at the same time, yeah.
Well,
I'm not complaining. I think either one is as valid. But I would choose that one just because it's weirder to do.
I don't want to do that, but if that's my vote, because I need to know what's happening here.
Yeah, usually, like for me, I kind of want to stay with something. Like if you get a story where there's like, say, like a time skip, like all right, it's gonna jump forward like a year or 2 in time. Then it's like, all right, that's a time where I could put jumping over to a different thing. But if it's something where if stories like kind of stay together, then I kind of like to try to stay with them unless I absolutely have to break it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea how hard of a time you would have, Justin, trying to remember the characters' names and things like that?
Yeah. Man, I would not be able to do it. I never remember characters by names anyways. I remember them by a vague description of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't need the name. I'm like, in my head, it's like, Kaladin I remember easy, but it's like, big guy on Bridge 4, singing guy on Bridge 4, stuff like that. Doesn't help when they're like, and then he died. And I'm like, oh, which one was that? So there's a huge downside to that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And we need to keep the clues fresh in our heads and stuff.
Hey, who knows what clues you'd find jumping between books? I bet there'd be some
That's just going to become even more chaotic, especially for the listeners.
Yeah, it'd be fucking horrible, yeah. Plus, I assume a lot of listeners don't want to stop to go read another fucking book all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So we will stay with Stormlight. So if you're reading along with us and you haven't purchased the next book, Words of Radiance, go out, buy that one. That's what we're going through next.
Words of Radiance.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then for our next episode, as I said before, no episode next week. We're going to be at anime convention. So 2 weeks from today, there should be a new episode. So for next time, we're reading 4 chapters 59 through 62. Yep. So that's everything for this week. So everyone, read those chapters 59 through 62. And then once you're done with that, we talked about anime. So go watch an anime.
Which one?
Watch it legally.
Solo leveling, obviously, Sheta.
No.
And be sure to pay money. Don't pirate it.
Nah, don't. Who cares? Don't tell people what to do.
Yeah, I actually don't really care. When I was younger, I would pirate a lot more. Now that I'm older, it's just like...
Joe, you can't confess that here.
Yeah, Joe, the police are going to come right now.
Now it's just like, you know what? I'd rather just spend a couple dollars and just have the ease of using this app on my PlayStation than to have to find a website, get past all the porno ads, and watch an anime.
Joe, you're
Get
describing the
past.
best part of pirating.
That's a little bonus for you.
Yeah, you just got some like singles in your area, girl jiggling on the side the whole time. Some people pay
Yeah, but then I
extra
need
for
to,
that kind of thing.
but then I need to watch it on my laptop and hook it up to my TV instead of just, all right, grab a controller, PlayStation, turn on like Crunchyroll or
I thought for
Netflix,
sure
and
you
all
were
right,
gonna
start an
say.
episode.
I thought for sure you were gonna say, yeah, but then I need to click all those ads and see which ones are legit. I get distracted and don't watch.
No, it's I'm too lazy to pirate, so I spend money. Same thing for movies sometimes. It's like, I could try to pirate it, or I'll spend $2 and rent it on Amazon.
Also, don't forget you have less money when you're young, and you don't
Oh
have
yeah,
it.
that's another big thing. I don't have money, so I was definitely looking for that stuff. But yeah, enough talk about this, everyone. You know what? You do you. Pay for it, pirate it. Who cares? Just
Click
watch
on
it.
those ads. We're not gonna judge.
One of those singles is there for sure. At
Maybe
least
they're the
one.
one.
And they're
you never
watching
know.
the same show as you. It's destiny.
All right. Yep, that's all. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.